Hello again guys, and welcome back to another video. Today we're looking at a scenario where all world religions go to war. So here we have non-affiliated, indigenous, Hindu, we have Islam, we have Christianity, Buddhism, and do we have any more? Nope. Those are all the ones we're going to be using for this scenario. And honestly, just looking at this world map, obviously number one is Christianity, followed by Islam, then probably non-affiliated, then Hinduism, Buddhism, and indigenous is just Taiwan and Vietnam. If you don't know where I got this, I literally, like all my maps, they may not be perfect, but that's just because I used Google for it. Just, if you want to know where I got it, just search up world religions map. It should be the first one that pops up. So if it's not perfect, that's where I got it from. It may not be perfect, but this is what we're going to go with. I hope you guys enjoy, and let's get right into it with, well, war is starting. Also, I can't, there are too many colors, so I can't exactly use an extra color for each one, but hey, I'll see what I can do. And to start this off, well, we're going to be seeing, Buddhism begin to push into indigenous over here into Vietnam. We're going to see them capitulate nearly the entire country until non-aligned, aka China, pushes into the north. From there, China is going to begin to push into Buddhism, aka Southeast Asia, while also pushing into India. And, well, India is going to be doing their own things, aka pushing into Bangladesh, and beginning to push into Myanmar. With this, they are also going to begin to push into Pakistan. Meanwhile, Pakistan is going to begin to push into northern India, together with China. China is going to begin to push into Mongolia. Mongolia is not a particularly powerful country. They're actually quite weak. And the entire country is going to go to them, except for a small bit of northern Mongolia that the Russians were able to capture. From there, Russia is going to begin to push into Manchuria. And, well, as for the Japanese, they're going to begin to push into the Russian islands, capturing Sakhalin and this island chain right here that I forgot the name of. From there, all Korean troops are going to begin to push into southern Russia, capturing Vladivostok, and beginning to push out from Manchuria. So yeah, this is already way too many wars, but it's only going to get worse as Central Asian troops begin to push into China, and Christian troops begin to push into Central Asia. So yeah, as for Estonia and Czechia, well, they're both gone. Also, you can't really tell who's being taken by who now, but the borders are not going to change. It's more about the actual war and less about what the land is going to look like at the end. So, I mean, I can't really make it so that you can see all the different colors because there are just not enough variations of colors that I can use. So this is just how it's going to have to look. It's not perfect, but hey, best I can do for now. Meanwhile, Christianity and Islam are going to be having a major fight in Africa, as Christianity is pushing up into Somalia, capturing pretty much the entire country, along with all of Djibouti. Meanwhile, Sudanese troops are going to begin to push into northern Ethiopia and Eritrea, and a lot of these Western African troops are going to push into the Ivory Coast and Ghana, till they eventually meet up with Nigerian troops that are beginning to push up into Niger and into Chad. So yeah, there's going to be a major fight between Christianity and Islam over here in Africa to see what religion gets control of the continent. Although honestly, just looking at what countries are on each side, without any outside help, the Christians would win. Let's go and see what's going to happen next though, as Christianity is going to begin to push into the Islamic part of the island of New Guinea, capturing the entire thing and starting to make some naval landings. This is going to be going incredibly well for them until eventually they meet the full-on Indonesian army, and that stops them dead in their tracks. From there, Christianity is going to attempt to make a landing on the island of Taiwan, but sadly for them, before they can make the landing, someone else is going to, that being China, of course. As soon as this works, don't want the eraser tool, there we go, which is China, aka non-affiliated. With that, they're going to be pushing back into Central Asia. This region is not very powerful. They only got the jump on China, which is why they actually started to make some progress. Well, Chinese troops are now arriving and beginning to push back. They capture all of Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, and begin to push into some of the more important parts of Uzbekistan. So yeah, that's not going great for Central Asia. The non-affiliated and Christian border is pretty equal. But as for Central Asia, actually, now the Christians are pushing in, and they're capturing a lot of Kazakhstan, as this is mostly the Russian military, but they're going to be splitting a lot of the region with China as they eventually make a border. From there, the Christians are going to begin to push into Turkey and Azerbaijan, and just down to the Middle East in general, as the Europeans are going to make a landing in Turkey, meeting up their two fronts. From there, South American troops are arriving in South Africa, and North American troops are arriving in Europe, which is going to be a massive help for them. As for Oceania, well, this is just one massive stalemate, except for over here in Southeast Asia, where the Buddhists managed to capture this half of the Malay Peninsula. There we go. Including all of Singapore. From there, they just attempt to corner themselves off and survive, although eventually something like this is going to happen with China taking a good portion of the land, Islam reclaiming all of their land and a tiny bit extra, and Hinduism taking the rest. We also see Hinduism taking over Bhutan and continuing to push into Pakistan. So yeah, this world is now just divided into 4 different parts. Eventually the Indians would probably fall, as it's pretty much just them fighting for their entire religion. Islam is going to have an issue of too many fronts. Not affiliated, they'll survive. But overall, I think we all know who's going to win here. Let's take it to a reasonable stalemate, as the Christians are starting to push back into Western Africa, capturing all of Guinea, Senegal, and the Gambia, till they eventually meet up with the Sahara Desert, which makes them not want to push in anymore. They also meet up with the Nile and begin to push up along it. From there, we see mountains stopping them from pushing into the Middle East, as a majority of this land, it's just Pakistan left. There's no point in even fighting at Pakistan, you're done for. You have the three of the most powerful countries pushing down on you, Russia, China, and India, and there's no way you're going to survive this. That Pakistan falls, and the red team begins to make some better front lines for themselves. They give up a lot of the Syrian desert to make a few front lines along the Golan Heights, pushing up along the rivers and the Iranian mountains, the Euphrates and Tigris, if you're wondering which ones I was talking about. From there, they attempt to hold this front line, as it is their best chance to basically just stay alive over here in the Middle East. They begin to push back a bit, but eventually these are the borders that we are left with. Now with the border in pretty much just all of Arabia being set, well, what are they going to do? They're going to focus on Africa, where the border is not yet set, as the blue team is pushing around the coast. From here, actually, Arabia does a weird thing and begins to push back into Iraq and Syria, as they decide these borders are not good enough for us. There were leaked crayons of the Christians planning to push back. They make a front line along the Caucasus mountain range, along the Iranian mountains, and just along the coastline of Turkey. So yeah, this is a much easier to control setup for the Arabians, as they capture Cyprus, and they are now just going to have to survive. Where's it going now? Well, the Christians are actually dedicating a lot of forces to Oceania, deciding that wiping out Indonesia is a major target, and this is going very well for them. As they near the island of Java and actually start to make landings on islands very, very close to the coastline, they also make a landing on Malaysia, on the less populous part of Malaysia, the island of Borneo, capturing the entire thing. And now Indonesia is finally starting to see that they are not going to win this. So they retreat all troops out of Southeast Asia, all troops out of any random islands, and all troops out of the island of Sumatra. So yeah, now they're just down to the island of Java, which, that's gone now. It's technically split between non-affiliated and Christianity, but soon enough, the Christians push back all the way to the final island. Also, I should say this is just a for fun scenario. Obviously, this would not happen in real life. From there, though, there are a few not expected things that happen, which are of course, the Christians are going to continue to push up the coast to Morocco, but around Algeria, they set up one large front line, and that is going to hold them off. And down here in Sudan, they once again just set up one large front line, and that is going to hold. So now that Islam has set up all their borders, has a lot of troops in Africa, and just very good geographic positions in the Middle East, where are we going to focus on next? Well, we're going to focus on India, as the Christians are now beginning to push in. And, well, yeah, India. Chinese are also beginning to push in. We see that India is beginning to struggle greatly here, as they're fighting on all fronts, all on their own. See the Christians attempt to push down the coast, but overall, non-affiliated gets a lot of the land, which is going to be great for them. They are probably the ones that have expanded their influence the most. And with that, the entirety of Hinduism is split up, and we are now down to just 3 religions left in the world, except one of them is the religion of not having religion. So honestly, I think we're just going to stop it here. Along the Eastern Ghats, the non-affiliated and Christians set up a front line. Over here in Central Asia, well, there's not much you can do, but they do meet up with the Himalayas in Pakistan and the Afghani mountains, along with this lake right here. So the borders for most of these countries are pretty well set up. I doubt it's going to move much, and this is about where we're going to finish it up. All sides have very strong borders, and very little movement is going to happen for very little land. From here, at this point, all sides are tired of fighting. Nobody wants to fight anymore. I think the Christians would eventually push back and win, but for now we have 3 surviving factions: the Islamist, well, just Islam, non-affiliated, and Christianity. With that, I do hope you enjoyed this kind of different style video, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.